Coming up at 10, quarantine ends for Bahamians being monitored as concern spreads over the coronavirus. Water and sewage employees ordered to return to work. A man charged with robbing a photo studio. Plus, we go to brunch at SLS.
Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm Kyle Joaquin. Quarantine has ended for more than a dozen Bahamians who returned home from China in the midst of the coronavirus outbreak. Health Minister Dr. DWAYNE Sands gave an update in the House of Assembly as he also revealed his ministry has set up a task force to deal with the virus that has sparked global concerns. Jasmine Brown reports.
Health Minister Dr. DWAYNE Sands gave the update as a part of his contribution to the mid-year budget debate in Parliament on Monday morning.
As of today, there are not and have not been any suspected, reported, or confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the Bahamas. I am also pleased to report that as of today, all persons who were quarantined have been released. They are all asymptomatic and they are now resuming normal activities.
Last week, the health minister said that the government has spent roughly $80,000 to quarantine Bahamians returning from China. Dr. Sands says that money was used to fund accommodations, food, security, and transportation. COVID-19 originated in Wuhan, China, and has now spread across more than 28 countries. As of Monday morning, more than 71,000 people worldwide have been affected, and 1,170 persons have died. According to the World Health Organization, most of the cases are confined to mainland China, and there have been only 3 deaths reported in other countries. Almost 11,000 people infected have fully recovered. The virus was first detected in December, and since last month, Sands says the ministry has hosted a series of COVID-19 sensitization meetings.
That even before the WHO announced COVID-19 as a public health emergency of international concern, the leaders and technical staff of my ministry had met. They were briefed and tasked with responsibilities to ensure that necessary measures were in place to monitor, detect, and contain the spread of COVID-19, then known as novel coronavirus, if it ever reached our shores.
He also said his ministry's disease surveillance unit has formulated a plan to guide the country through the global outbreak.
National plan, disseminating relevant information to frontline workers, monitoring at ports of entry in collaboration with other stakeholders, such as immigration and customs, and monitoring of returning visitors and residents.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Chief Justice Brian Marie has granted an injunction ending strike action at the Water and Sewage Corporation. The injunction was sought by the corporation after the striking workers refused to return to the job, even though the unions were informed that the Minister of Labor had referred the matter to the Industrial Tribunal. BUSAWU President Dwayne Woods reacted to the court's decision today.
The corporation is claiming that we are a public threat, or we are a threat to the public's interests. In all of his wisdom, he granted a temporary injunction for us to return to work. So in a nutshell, as far as the BUSAWU and the management union is concerned, this was a stay of execution for the corporation.
Now, the corporation and the union will go before Justice Marie next week, where he will decide whether to continue with the injunction. Wood says the union is confident that it will prevail.
We respect the Supreme Court and the laws of the land, so we advise our members to return to work this morning. Until the 24th of this month, Chief Justice Marie will give his ruling, and we are confident, overconfident, that the Lord will have his way and the victory will be granted to the people.
Well, Water and Sewage Corporation Chairman ADRIAN Gibson airing grievances in the House of Assembly today after industrial unrest at the corporation over the past several days. Gibson lashed out at a union leader and the leader of the PLP. Berthany McDermott has that.
Gibson did not hold back as he blasted BUSAWU President DWAYNE Woods by listing what he said led to the recent strike action. According to Gibson, Woods requested a promotion in management, a corporate car, cell phone, proficiency pay, and an increase in salary after not working for some 5 years. Those requests were denied and Woods was told to return to work. Parliament also heard that Water and Sewage Management Union President Edna Roll in a communication commended Gibson on his treatment of the union since taking office.
Mr. Speaker, in a correspondence to me, one of the two persons now asserting leadership of the union said to me, this is in 2017, we wish to commend and thank both yourself, the Board of Directors, the Minister, and the government for the forthright and honest manner in which the union has been treated since this government came into office. The change is truly refreshing.
However, things quickly took a turn as union officials called for Gibson to resign as executive chairman just last week. Gibson didn't stop there. He also hit out at opposition leader Philip Davis, who last week suggested that Gibson be removed as executive chairman. On Friday, opposition leader Philip Davis, standing in solidarity with union officials, called on the Prime Minister to step in and, quote, get rid of this child, end quote. Well, that did not sit well with Gibson, who called those comments disrespectful. Gibson also suggested that the recent union action was politically motivated.
On Friday, I watched a disrespectful interview with a member for Cat Island referred to me, his parliamentary colleague, as a child. He was clearly more focused on scoring cheap political brownie points. It is clear that there appears to be a political arrangement in the background of all of this. Politics should never motivate union actions.
The executive chairman also accused Davis, who served as works minister in the last administration, of being aware of the outstanding industrial agreement for the managers' union and doing nothing about it.
Let me note here that the industrial agreement for the managers' union expired in 2013. However, the former administration refused to sign off on it due to the same reasons that this administration expressed observations. The member for Cat Island would be aware of this, yet he disingenuously stood before cameras and attacked me. I've seen the correspondence. The member met with the managers' union several times during his tenure, yet nothing was signed. Davis
was not in the House when Gibson was speaking. The union matters at the Water and Sewage Corporation are being worked out in court. Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
In other news, a man faced several charges in court today in relation to an early morning armed robbery of a business establishment along Carmichael Road. Jared Higgs has more.
44-year-old George Delva faced 5 different charges in relation to a holdup of portraits a la Sawyers last Tuesday. The Blair Estates resident faced a single count of armed robbery, with prosecutors alleging that on February 11th, while armed with a black and silver handgun, he robbed Charles Sawyer and Portraits a la Sawyer studio of $200,000.08. He also faced 1 count of receiving, as well as 2 charges for possessing a Smith & Wesson handgun and 3 unfired rounds of ammunition. The man, who was represented by attorney Dion Smith, was also charged with a single count of indecent assault. Smith claimed, though, that his client was beaten while in police custody, including being gun-butted. He showed Chief Magistrate Joanne Ferguson Pratt an image on his cell phone that he took of Delva while visiting him in police custody. He says he wants the police's mugshot of his client to present to the court. On top of that allegation, Smith says his client was also denied medical attention, despite requesting from 2 police officers that his client be seen by a physician. Delva told Ferguson Pratt his side was still hurting and that he had a tooth knocked out. She ordered that he be taken to PMH before being remanded. Meanwhile, Delva did not plead to any of the charges before him. Bail was denied, and he was remanded to the Bahamas Department of Corrections until April 1st. That's when he will return to court to be served with voluntary bill of indictment paperwork. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
Much needed improvements coming to the Bahamas Department of Corrections. With more on this, here's Georgia Bay.
Hefty repairs are underway here at the Bahamas Department of Corrections as areas that were once unusable are fully refurbished. Conditions at the Bahamas Department of Correctional Services were once described as life-threatening, according to a U.S. State Department report released in 2019, citing overcrowding, poor sanitation, and inadequate access to medical care and drinking water. All of those problems have not been corrected. Commissioner of Corrections Charles Murphy led the media on a tour of several facilities at the prison Monday morning, which have been significantly improved.
So far, this building that you're in, we would have completed the renovation of the conference room. This office that you're in now, the maximum security southern wing, the one that you visited, and we now we're dealing with the inmate visit area at medium security.
Despite the sweeping changes, inmates have complained about the pace of work amid chronic overcrowding. As the tour progressed, several inmates warned reporters not to get too close as they hadn't showered in days. Others complained about the food and insufficient beds. Murphy said there are just under 1,600 inmates at the prison. Murphy did not have the exact figures. He noted that the renovations have come in under the $1 million mark thus far, but admitted it could have been much more without the inmates' hard work.
Inmates are doing all of the work supervised by the officers. We have carpenters, mason, electrician, plumbers. We have all of those skills here.
Currently 1,593 inmates at the facility, with over 20 of them enrolled in trades at the Bahamas Technical and Vocational Institute. More areas are expected to be improved as those skills are utilized. Reporting for Our News, I'm Giorgio Bain.
All right, thanks, Giorgio. Still to come, a first-of-its-kind conference for nurses happening on our shores. Plus, we stop for brunch at BAHAMAS. Stay tuned.
Hey, but Dubs.
Hey.
Speaking of ideas, though.
Ah!
Yes, solid idea, but.
Here we go again.
Joking, boy.
Murder? That on their passport, so they better name it murder.
Hey, but you start. Just gotta be a blessing, Mike, because ain't nobody that's stupid to come here to lose their money. Lose your money, boy.
Gina T? On your right nipple, Gina? What is this?
Don't be what this is, though.
Well, Greasy Brothers, we gotta sing to you. Happy birthday from the Greasy crew. We can buy one down now, and all of us can share it.
I like him. He's funny.
You think that funny? Bum chicky, bum chicky, bum chicky, bum chicky, bum chicky. It's your birthday, bum chicky.
A historic feat for nurses here in the Bahamas as the International Council of Nurses, in collaboration with the Nurses Association of the Bahamas, hosts its first regional nurses disaster competency workshop in the country. Global Nursing Leadership Institute scholar Prescola Rose said the workshop is designed to better equip nurses in the region.
The Global Nursing Leadership Institute, where we from Trinidad, the Bahamas, the America, and Colombia were grouped into a cohort where we were given a project, and we felt that having a disaster competency workshop would be something that each of us can benefit from. We were at this program immediately after Hurricane Dorian, and the trauma that we heard nurses experience during the hurricane made us want to know exactly how it is that we as nurse leaders can help our nurses during or after hurricanes.
The workshop runs from today to the 20th at the National Emergency Management Agency headquarters on Gladstone Road. St. Louis University professor Dr. Joanne Langen says the workshop will focus on the 3 phases of disaster.
We will focus and touch on each area of the disaster phases, which is preparedness, response, and recovery, because every nurse needs to be a prepared nurse. Without nurses being prepared, they cannot help others. So that's where we begin.
When I go to disaster areas, some of the key persons I always look forward to seeing are the nurses, the social workers, and our law enforcement officers to see how they would have weathered the storm and how they're able to bounce back and support their communities. So I'm truly excited about this workshop, the first one for the region, as we build capacity with our nurses and the true components of disaster management and how they can better prepare, respond, and help us to recover from these disasters.
Senior officers at the Bahamas Department of Corrections undergoing performance management training this week. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of National Security, EUGENE POITER, said this comes after appraisals were done on senior officers at the facility that produced results the ministry was not pleased with.
The Public Service Commission has not been impressed with the performance appraisals coming from this institution. It's real talk now. So we need to, and the way to fix that is for you to ensure that you understand the whole performance management function, and then secondly, how to complete the performance appraisal forms. Objectively, divorced from your personal feelings about the officer.
According to POITER, personal feelings toward particular officers seem to have affected the appraisal process.
Throughout my career, what I've seen too often is supervisors, mid-careerists, and senior officers allowing their personal feelings to enter into the performance management process. It's a totally objective process. It has nothing to do with your personal feelings. It's not a witch hunt. It's not a time for you to get back at officers who you don't like. I've seen it too often. What I've also seen from the Department of Corrections since I've arrived is officers' performance appraisals not correlating with their behavior.
Corrections Commissioner Charles Murphy said the week-long training session is aimed at curbing these issues.
Well, there are times when you need to be frank. The facts speak for itself. The ACR, they weren't done properly, and so we seek to improve the way we go about, the officers go about in executing that part of their duties.
Still to come, a new brunch hits the rooftop at SLS Bahamar. Stay tuned.
You want to get out and play. You want to get outside. For everywhere you go, you're going to need something inside. Esso Gasolines clean your engine, improve combustion, and increases fuel efficiency, helping you along your way. Drive with confidence because you've got Esso in your tank.
You're watching Our News. Welcome back. More than 5 months after islands in the northern Bahamas were devastated by Hurricane Dorian, nearly 24 of the hotels on Abaco have reopened. That's according to Tourism and Aviation Minister DIONISio de Aguilar.
20 of the 53 hotels are open in Abaco, providing 424 rooms, and my entire senior executive team is up in Abaco today, touring the hotels to see firsthand what is what and to marshal the resources of the ministry to assist in getting the word out what is open for business.
De Aguilar added that government is set to pump $3 million into the Leonard Thompson International Airport in Marsh Harbor to get it fully operational. But Anglistown MP Glenys Hannah Martin says despite what the Minister administration has to say, she believes the government's response post-Dorian has been sorely lacking.
You seek to claim glory when none exists. You refuse to accept responsibility for your failings, which are many. I've never seen this. You got to bite the bullet, you got to fall on your sword sometimes. I've done it over in this parliament when I served as minister.
Well, Sundays have gotten a bit cooler. Sky Bar on the rooftop of the Lux SLS at Bahamar has unveiled a new brunch option for those looking to dine in the clouds. It's the newest addition to the Sunday lineup at SLS at Bahamar. The Cloud 9 brunch on the rooftop at Sky Bar has balanced the flavors you'd only find at SLS with the cool, chic ambiance the brand provides.
One of the reasons we decided to start this brunch is because so many people love the SLS Bahamar venues, and sometimes it's hard to make a choice. Am I going to Clio? Am I going to Katsuya, Ophelia? And this Sunday in our Cloud 9 brunch gives you the opportunity to enjoy the best of all worlds.
From sushi to crab legs at the Raw Bar to omelets made to your liking, the brunch has got something for everyone. And from the rooftop at SLS, you can see just about everything, making this brunch stand out above the rest.
It's all about family, friends gathering, having a Sunday feast, enjoying the incredible views. We've got incredible entertainment by Stasi, a wonderful local artist, and of course, like I said, the opportunity to really savor on all of the SLS culinary options.
Pull up a chair at the bar or lounge out with your friends overlooking the beautiful Bahamar property. Whether it be the Caesar salad made right before your eyes or the grilled beef and the endless amount of desserts available, the food at the brunch hits the spot, and the weather won't stop the show.
Unless we have 20 knots an hour wind, then we should be fine. So a little rain does not hurt, and like I said, it's about the ambience. It's about sometimes a bit of a cooler day is actually nice, but as long as it's weather permitting, we'd like to go every Sunday.
The brunch runs from noon to 3 p.m. and according to SLS VP and General Manager Axel is open for everyone.
And of course, we invite our guests to stay with us after. So at 3 p.m., the brunch will stop, but Sky Bar will remain open. So if you're having a good time, please stay back, watch the sunsets. It's one of the best places in the Bahamas to see a good sunset here. The price is $120 per person and includes 2 mimosas.